Sustainable development is a concept that appeared for the first time in 1987 with the publication of the World Klein Report warning of the negative environmental consequences of economic growth and globalization, which tried to find possible solutions to the problem caused by industrialization and population growth. It is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. Today, we will be going to discuss on how to solve the issue pertaining to sustainable human development in our country. But before that, let's take a look on how Switzerland addresses the same issue.
In September 2015, the member states of the UN adopted the 2030 Agenda and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Under this unified agenda, the international community combined the commitments to sustainable development that were made at the UN's Rio+20 conference with the process of renewing the Millennium Development Goals implemented between 2000 and 2015. What's new about the 2030 Agenda is its universal nature. Its 17 goals apply to all member states, not simply the poor countries and the populations of the South. Furthermore, each of these goals must be achieved in a way which respects the three dimensions of sustainable development: social, economic, and environmental. Among the 17 goals that have been identified are those relating to poverty, education, energy, gender equality, environmental conservation, responsible consumption and production, and the fight against climate change. The universal nature of the 2030 Agenda means that each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals will be implemented differently in different countries. For example, while certain countries continue to struggle with hunger, others should be more concerned with promoting a healthy diet and combating obesity. While Switzerland throws away a third of its food, other countries lose a significant proportion of their harvests because of inadequate storage. And while certain populations are concerned about access to energy, many others consume enormous amounts and need to find a solution to reduce this consumption and its impact on the environment. Switzerland played an important role in the drafting of the 2030 Agenda. For example, it has a particular interest in some of the issues included in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, such as health, gender equality, water and peace. Switzerland is also concerned about some of the cross-cutting aspects which must be considered, such as means of sustainable consumption and production, or reducing disaster risk. The 2030 Agenda will therefore impact directly on how Switzerland's international cooperation develops, as it helps to implement the goals at the international level. Nationally, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals will be factored to a greater extent into domestic policy decisions and statements to the Swiss people. Everyone is responsible for putting the 2030 Agenda into practice. Its adoption also marks a shift in the way in which sustainable development is approached and implemented. Individual citizens, civil society, the private sector, the scientific community, the cantons and communes. There are many actors who can pool their skills and interests to make the 17 Sustainable Development Goals a reality. All sources of funding will be important in realizing sustainable development, be they public, private, national or international. The systematic implementation of projects funded in public-private partnerships is one example of how synergies can be created and more money mobilized. By working together, we can enable everyone to live a life of dignity. But we must ensure that economic and social development is not achieved at the expense of the environment. It is an approach that is as ambitious as it is promising, and one to which Switzerland is committed by adopting the 2030 Agenda and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
As a part of a new Sustainable Development Roadmap, the United Nations approved the 2030 Agenda, which contains the Sustainable Development Goals, a call to action to protect the planet and guarantee the global well-being of people. These common goals require the active involvement of individuals, businesses, administrations, and countries around the world. As seen in the video, the Switzerland has adopted the Sustainable Development Goals that aims to have a sustainable and a better world to live in. Here in our country, we can also adapt and apply the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in order for us to fully achieve sustainable human development without harming the other factors in our environment. But aside from that, let us hear from Janeline Harrow, Manager Nyones, and Bethel May Gulay the other possible solutions in order for us to achieve sustainable human development.
In order for us to mitigate the problems and issues in our environment, we have to build and achieve a certain goal. As a group, we come up with the idea on how we can solve the issue of sustainable human development in our country, and we call it EES development. EES stands for Economical, Environmental, and Social Development. The aim of this project is to create a goal wherein we are developing and at the same time, we are making ways to produce or to make sure that we are not harming the environment as a whole and the needs of the future generation. The concept of sustainable human development is highly important in our country, especially now that we are still in the midst of the pandemic. But we also need to put in mind that sustainable human development is not only focused on the economy, the infrastructure, and the environment, but of course, the society itself and the government. Now, let us explain further the EES development that we propose. E stands for economic. In economical aspect, in order for us to achieve sustainable human development, we must be able to produce goods and services on a continuing basis. And how can we achieve this? By giving job opportunities to everyone. If we could have continuing economic opportunities, then we are closer in achieving sustainable human development. For example, if the government will be able to give job opportunities especially to those individuals who commit illegal activities, such as illegal logging, hunting, and fishing, the harm to our environment will be lessened if they are given job opportunities, and at the same time, they will be able to provide their daily needs without depending too much in our government. And by that, we can slowly achieve sustainable human development in economical aspect.
For the second E, we have the environment or environmental aspect. In order to achieve sustainable development, we need to keep our resource base consistent, preventing overexploitation of renewable resource systems and depletion of non-renewable resources. That means being able to adopt recycling methods, healthy ways in using our resources, and by promoting the environmental practices. And also, community clean for ecological protection and preservation. This includes biodiversity conservation, atmospheric stability, and other environmental services that are not usually considered economic resources. Furthermore, we will also have a fundraising activity that we call Collect and Protect the Planet. Every community will have a competition. The community that collects the most garbage will win the competition and will be ranked in one of the most sustainable and clean areas since they are able to clean their surroundings through collecting thousands of garbages. The garbage collected will be recycled and donated to poorer communities that need further assistance in achieving a clean, safer, and sustainable environment.
And for the last aspect, we have the social. We must achieve distributional equity, adequate provision of social services, gender equity, policies, accountability, and the participation. One important part of the sustainable development is the participation, which means encouraging the people to take action. Why is participation important in achieving sustainable human development? It is because without the help of the people, any governmental projects would be useless if the people will not participate even in a simple way. everything will put into waste. Therefore, as whole nation, we must take part in achieving sustainable human development through socialization and building a strong relationship with one another.
In summary, in order for us to mitigate the issues under sustainable human development, we propose the project EES Development, which stands for Economical, Environmental, and Social Development. The aim of this project is to create a goal wherein we are developing and at the same time we are making ways to produce or to make sure that we are not harming the environment as a whole and the needs of the future generation. Together with these three aspects, we can achieve sustainable human development. And before we end this presentation, together with my group mates, we would like to leave a meaningful message.
By helping together,
we can create
meaningful,
safe,
safe, and
world.